What would you expect to find in one of the fastest growing cities in Texas? Well, in Midlothian, Texas, you'll find a small town feel and a community committed to growing together.
Police are trying to figure out why somebody dressed as a police officer ambushed and murdered a fitness instructor at a church.
Midlothian police only released about 7 seconds of video of the killer from a surveillance camera. The woman murdered was a mother of 3 who taught fitness classes.
In 2016, Missy Bevers was a mother, a daughter, an active member in her church, and a fitness instructor. While no one is perfect, Missy had no known enemies. In the latter part of her life, she lived just south of Dallas, Texas, in the suburbs of Red Oak. There, she worked partially as a trainer for a fitness company known as Camp Gladiator. These courses popped up in empty parking lots, churches, and parks across the Midwest, and Missy led a dedicated team. Apart from work and training, she was dedicated to her family. Her friends had this to say about her.
She loved her kids, and she was just a mom. She was everything to her kids, so it was just a shock today. She just wanted to make people feel better about themselves, so that's what she was all about, and that was her personality. On
April 18th, 2016, fitness classes were planned as usual. Typically held in the parking lot of Creekside Church of Christ, this day would be a little different. The night before, Missy noted the prediction of rain and made this Facebook post reading, "If it's raining, we're still training." She subsequently notified her class that the following day's training would take place inside the church. Missy was to arrive at the church to start preparing, as she typically did just after 4 a.m. But on this day, someone would arrive before her. At 3:50 a.m., the suspect in the murder of Missy Bevers is first seen on surveillance footage after breaking into the church. The next half hour would reveal some of the most strange behavior by a killer you are likely to see. As the suspect enters the building, the first thing that stands out is not only are they dressed head to toe in a police SWAT uniform, but the way they put one arm out against the wall almost as if to steady themselves. After entering and exiting a second room, we see the suspect try a third. This time they are met by a locked door. What is striking about their behavior is the almost half-hearted attempt to break into the door. Watch their hands here and ask yourself, is this how an experienced burglar would break into a locked door? After this failed attempt, the suspect is seen walking down another hallway. The police uniform is clearly on display in this portion of the video. Opening another door, our suspect enters a third room, then down the hallway to a fourth. So far, nothing has been taken from any of the rooms. Entering another portion of the hallway, the first act of vandalism takes place. As you can see, the smashing of glass and shards falling at their feet. Finally, the suspect makes their way back to the end of the hallway, where they turn on a flashlight to look into a dark room. This will be the last time that they are seen on camera before the murder of Missy Bevers, possibly lying in wait for the young woman to arrive.
Good evening, guys. There are so many troubling aspects to this crime. A murder committed inside a church, a murder in a town that hasn't seen a murder in years, and a suspect caught on surveillance camera wearing full police tactical gear. The killer first appears on a church security camera at 10 minutes to 4 Monday morning. About 30 minutes later at 4:18, 45-year-old Terry Missy Bevers arrives to begin setting up for her Camp Gladiator training session. Several doors were breached at the church, a lot of damage, but nothing found missing.
Just after 4 a.m., Missy would arrive at Creekside Church to prepare for her class. What transpired over the next hour is unknown. Was Missy confronted by her killer? Did she startle a robber in the progress of his crime? At the time of this video, we still do not know. What we do know is that whatever transpired, Missy did not survive. Around 5 a.m., her body was discovered by students of her class. She had suffered a head wound and multiple puncture wounds to her chest. She died shortly after paramedics arrived. The investigation that followed would bring many questions from law enforcement, the media, and the internet at large.
Police chief, during that news conference, kind of referred to the killer as a he. I don't know if the video, I can't tell, and you've got law enforcement experts saying the video, in fact, may show something else. What are they saying?
I've had several people look at it and say that's a woman. In fact, one of the people who told me that is a retired longtime investigator from the Dallas County Sheriff's Office. He says
questions about the suspect's gender and motive were interrupted by new evidence, including video surveillance footage of a car circling the parking lot of a closed business nearby just before the break-in.
Video of a suspicious car on the morning a mother and fitness trainer was murdered inside a Midlothian church. Could it provide the answer that has become really a national murder mystery?
This is the surveillance video from SWFA Outdoors near Creekside Church of Christ in Midlothian from April 18th, a couple of hours before Missy Bevers' murder. A silver Nissan Altima slowly circling the parking lot. At one point, the driver cuts off the lights and turns them back on. The vehicle caught in multiple angles by the store's cameras. Police say this
followed by a revelation of a blood-stained shirt being dropped off at a dry cleaner's by a family member. In response to an onslaught of accusations and suspicions, Missy Bevers' estranged husband and father-in-law were cleared by police after producing undeniable alibis for the day of Missy's murder.
Police released an affidavit saying they collected a blood-stained shirt from a local dry cleaner. The XXL woman's shirt had been dropped off by Missy Bevers' father-in-law.
Randy Bevers explaining the blood was from a dogfight in which his wife's Chihuahua was killed, backed up by a Facebook posting his wife made on April 22nd.
By them doing this, it tells me that they're being diligent and doing their job on any tiny little whatever comes across is being looked at.
These stories were investigated and confirmed by police. Missy's estranged husband had this to say.
Police did give an update on the investigation, offered some new information, and ruled out family members as suspects, at least for now. But Bevers told me this afternoon no one should be ruled out of this investigation, including him.
I was in Biloxi, Mississippi, about to go on a fishing trip down on the Chandeleur Islands, and I heard about it this morning. I received a phone call from a couple of Missy's campers. I've pretty much exhausted every scenario and every avenue that I can think of who could have done this.
The investigation continues into the murder of Missy Bevers. No motive, no suspect, no leads in the following 6 years. Only a community and family left to mourn, and a killer lying in wait. To end this video, I'd like to point out the two main theories floating around the internet and quickly run through the reasons behind those. The first of those theories is that this was a robbery and simply the wrong place and wrong time for Missy Bevers. Some say the fact that the suspect searched all the rooms, broke in during a time typically no one would be in the church, their behavior seeming erratic and disoriented, as well as the fact that there was vandalism, all point to a robbery. The other side of this theorizes that this was a targeted hit on Missy. Some of these points are that the suspect arrived just before Missy was known to arrive. The suspect brought a weapon, they concealed their identity, and in the end, nothing was stolen. All of these point to a targeted hit. In the end, I agree with police statements that this case will ultimately rely on information from the public. Someone out there will one day recognize the odd walk of a neighbor. Someone will find a SWAT uniform in a relative's closet, or maybe we'll never know. Until then, stay curious.